Hello and welcome to How to Win the Lottery. First off, the most important thing, Merry Christmas.
It's Christmas Day, right?
Christmas Day episode, baby.
Yeah. Play some of that Ronettes.
Merry Christmas.
Play some Ronettes.
Merry Christmas. Christmas wrapping? Is that one?
No.
Oh. Anyway.
That's the waitresses.
Gotcha. Today's book is Notes of a Crocodile by miaojin.
miaojin, who I consulted Dylan on the pronunciation of her name.
Translated, also not an easy name, but differently, by, have it in here somewhere, Bonnie Huey, Huie.
Baby Huey?
Baby Huey. Baby Huey, Uncle Scrooge's nephew, translated this book in May of 2017 in the New York Review Books.
Yeah, classic
Series.
Yeah, that's a great series.
So we are in 1994.
94.
Do you know, I mean, before I get into 1994 facts, do you know, like, miaojin killed herself?
I did, yeah. I was thinking, I didn't know that until after I read it. And I was thinking...
Not a lot of information out there about it.
How many people have we read who killed themselves? The answer is Sylvia Plath, Osuma Dazai, although we read the Junji Ito adaptation of No Longer Human. Obviously, Eduardo Levey.
DFW.
This lady right here, DFW.
I mean, artists kill themselves. It's kind of
there's
what they're known for.
There's a number of artists that we've read that have suicided.
I told Margaret that, and she was just like, why? I was like, I don't know, but it's about being a lesbian in Taiwan when it's not really acceptable to be a lesbian in Taiwan, and
yes,
that might be it.
Well, the inspiration for this book was, did you read anything about it?
I think a little bit, but why don't you, in case people read or didn't read or whatever and don't know?
The inspiration for this book was that in Taiwan there was a news program that ran an expose on a lesbian bar that like doxed a bunch of people, some of whom died by suicide afterwards, which is like, yeah, that's what happens when you live in a repressive society that, and then you go out of your way to hassle the people that are like just trying to live their lives in the most basic, just looking for the most basic of the hierarchy of needs, which is love.
Yep. That being said, not a total downer of a book.
No, it's like funny too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get into the book though, 1994 facts. You ready for these?
Sure.
3 big movies that year, 1 big TV show. Can you name what they are?
Friends
is the TV show, yes. 94. Pivotal for one type of cinema. Actually, kind of maybe 2.
Shawshank, Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction.
Those are 2 of the 3. Forrest Gump winning every award, even though it shouldn't have. Pulp Fiction, pivot point for independent cinema.
Is Shawshank not one of them?
It is, but it wasn't on my list.
Okay.
Maybe the most influential, possibly, animated movie, pre-Toy Story. Hallmark of the Disney 90s. The Lion King. Oh,
okay. Yeah, sure.
That feels like, to a lot of people, that's like the thing. Yeah. Number 1 song of the year. Do you know what it is? It's a big song.
Is it I Will Always Love You from the Bodyguard soundtrack?
Still in 1994. No, these people may or may not be Nazis. Or affiliated with Nazis. I don't know what
these people may or may not be Nazis.
They're not Nazis, but people affiliate them with...
Is it Ace of Base? Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's the one guy that was I think Joker, the DJ, was part of like a white pride group or something like that.
Yeah, well, his the number 1 song of the year was The Sign by Ace of Base.
I saw The Sign and opened up.
Also,
love is demanding without understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a part in that song where he goes, under the pale moon, where I see a lot of stars, and it's like a lot of stars. You couldn't like up your poetry game a little bit.
I feel like, and maybe it wasn't Scott Aukerman, but I feel like because there's always like the Max Martin, like the Britney Spears, like where the lyrics sound good, but they don't make any sense. And like those, especially like in translation or whatever, just like, oh, this is nonsense, but like it's a great song.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It's one of the great pop songs. It's way better than their other song.
I don't know the name of it. I know the name of it.
Yeah, the one that's like, oh, that she wants is another baby. Yeah, that song's not good.
1994, though, also a big year for maybe your favorite genre of music, Britpop, as Blur released Parklife.
Yeah.
In Taiwan, a bunch of depressing shit happened. Mm-hmm. A ferry in Qingdao Lake in China was hijacked and set ablaze, killing all 32 on board, including 24 Taiwanese tourists. And the handling of the case, specifically around delayed disclosure and perceived cover-ups, enraged many in Taiwan.
As it would.
There was a 6.8 or 7.3, I'm not sure why they don't know, but they don't know, earthquake that struck the Taiwan Strait in September. On the upswing, Taiwan continued its transition toward greater democracy. The government held free and fair elections in 3 positions that had been previously appointed, and constitutional amendments were passed that paved the way for direct election of the president and vice president, which first happened 2 years later in 1996.
Okay.
There's also the Da'an Forest Park in Taipei, officially opened to the public in March of that year, since become a major green space in the city. And there was also back on the depressing shit, a widely covered and socially sensitive event was the double suicide of 2 female high school students from Taipei First Girls High School in July, found to have died by charcoal burning in a motel. And it drew national attention to youth mental health, social pressures, and public discourse about whether social constraints on same-sex relationships may have played a role. There
you go.
I also looked up LGBTQ stuff from that year because that's the other theme. I do like that you gave me the guidance. Like, well, what happened actually like about like tied to the book? Oh, cowboy shit.
Yeah.
Whatever book that was. What was our cowboy book? Whatever, doesn't matter.
It was all the pretty horses.
In the UK, the age of consent for gay men was reduced from 21 to 18, which I didn't know that was a different.
Me neither. That's insane saying you have to be 21.
In April, Tunin versus Australia was a landmark case in which the United Nations Human Rights Committee held that Tasmania's laws criminalizing consensual sex between men violated the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.
All right.
In December, the American Medical Association publicly declared that it opposed, quote, treatments intended to cure homosexuality, like conversion therapy. They're just like, no more, which feels crazy that was still going on in 1994, but
still going on now.
I know. On the other side of the coin, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was adopted that year.
Sure. Which I think like at the time was like a little bit thought of as being progressive. And now we think of it as being like horseshit. But I think at the time it was like,
oh, they can be gay.
Yeah, as long as like they don't talk about it, then it's fine.
In the Philippines, and I sort of moved over to Asia if possible. In the Philippines, Stonewall Manila was held in June, which is a pride march and protest, often cited as one of the earliest pride demonstrations in Asia. So that was also 1994.
They still have very, very restrictive laws against gay stuff there.
And the one other note I have is that a teacher named Rodney Wilson first came out to his students in 1994 and used that experience to help found LGBTQ History Month in schools as a way to encourage inclusive history education. So some good, some bad.
Yeah, 1994 also, I think, was Pedro Zamora on The Real World San Francisco was like one of the first HIV positive people that was on TV, like talking openly about being HIV positive. Also, obviously, the year Kurt Cobain shot himself. Also, obviously, the year that OJ did the chase, June 16th, 1994. Baseball lockout that year. That, I will say, the best 30 for 30. I've only seen like 5 of them, but the best 30 for 30 is June 16th, 1994. No narration, just cutting back and forth between the chase, Griffey hitting his 30th home run way early in the season, the Knicks in a pivotal playoff game, the Rangers Stanley Cup parade, I think Jack Nicklaus's final round of golf, and maybe one other thing. It's just like, this is a crazy sports day, and then all of a sudden it gets dwarfed by OJ. Yeah. When I was just talking with people at work about before I bought the car that I just bought, I was talking about like what car I want to get, and someone was like, "Oh, like have you thought about like a Ford Bronco?" And I was like,
My neighbor across the
literally,
street is a Bronco. Just like,
but I was like, literally nobody sees a Ford Bronco and thinks about anything but OJ.
I know his is red, but I'm just like,
Like
you might as well paint it white.
Yeah, it's OJ.
Yep.
I mean, those are cool cars, but like it has such a pop culture association that you may as well be like the same way that like a Dodge Charger has specific pop culture associations if you're a certain kind of film guy.
Yeah. I wonder, well, yes, or Dodge Challenger if you're a Tarantino, Death Proof, whatever, Charger, and they both do.
Right.
I wonder how much Margaret knows about OJ. I mean, she knows Kardashian, so like, but I'm always curious because she's like just young enough that like I was aware of it, but not really, but obviously through the TV shows or whatever. Anyway, Notes of a Crocodile.
Notes of a Crocodile. I found it to be tonally very similar to No Longer Human.
Okay. In what way?
And well, I talked with, and also tonally similar to the Murakami book that we read, the Kolosukuru Sasaki. And I was talking with Meg about this, and I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is a cultural blinder that I have, but I often feel like those are different languages. Japanese and Taiwanese are completely different languages, obviously. But I often feel like Asian languages translated into English have a very flat affect. I don't know why that is.
Do you think it's because like we perceive them to be a reserved society, and so we adopt their writing? I
really don't know.
It's interesting.
I mean, I think Murakami's doing it on purpose.
That's also about like an autistic guy, sort of, right? Or do we just apply that to him?
But Murakami's books are all kind of like that.
Okay.
They all have the same kind of flat affect. Like, and okay, so the reason why I pair this with No Longer Human is that I find that the flat affect, and I might also here be thinking about Flowers of Buffoonery, because that's also by Asuma Dazai. I also read that book, but I read his book of that. I didn't read the Junji Ito adaptation of it. It's a flat affect in a book that is very emotional. So you have tonally something that feels deadpan, while emotionally it's very tempestuous.
Got it.
Which is a strange combination.
But it works. When it works, it works.
Yeah.
I think there is something that is really like reassuring in a way about like the universality of this, where it's like, even though we're following a Taiwanese lesbian born in 1970, it's just like college sort of sucks for everybody too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's the best and also the worst.
Yeah, you're also just like, damn, lesbians, they're just like me.
Mm-hmm. I think
I often feel that about myself.
I know you do. You say it every day. But
I have that tattoo.
Mike Manzi, who I do a lot of podcasts with, is always like, I like movies because I can get in the mind of like, you know, a Taiwanese lesbian or whatever. Just like, you can also read a book. I'd be like, it's the same thing here. It's just like, this is even like deeper into the thing.
Yeah, you're experiencing art. That's what art does.
Especially given, and I have a question for you, because there are some letters, and you've taught me on this podcast the word epistolary. Is there a word for writing that is in diary form? Or is it just...
It's epistolary.
That's also the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Because like, it's kind of written, it reads like traditional narration, but like the format is she's writing diaries.
Yeah.
So, did you like the diary format, or does it feel like a framing device without really much of a payoff?
I think it's a framing device that sort of like, I mean, this isn't a framing device, but sort of like the way that second person is utilized in Bright Lights, Big City, which is that it starts out and you're conscious of it, and then it fades into the background very quickly, and it just reads like regular prose.
Well, there is a thing, because also big news since we last recorded the episode, I met the egg. And we talked about this book a little bit. Yeah.
Well, bigger news is that you got married.
I did, but I met Egg at the wedding. But I was saying to her, this is one I read like 30 pages, but like you can really fly through, especially the early stuff, because like the diary is just like end of the day or whatever, and like it just ends the page, and like you can fly through 30 pages of this in like 15 minutes. And then I think as the book goes on, because I'm always conscious of like structure and page breaks or chapter breaks or whatever, I think that the chunks become longer. Maybe as things get more serious, I don't know. But like early on, it's like you can really fly through. And I think the format helps that.
Yeah, for sure.
But did you like it?
I did.
You did.
I thought it was good. And I thought that it's the type of thing that is different from my normal consumption of media in so many different ways. I mean, it's obviously like racially or geographically more than racially. It's a culture that's so far away from my own. But then you come to see that it is actually like not so far away from your own. Because in 1994, I think lesbians in America were struggling with similar issues, even though we have a more open and free society. But then also it's a book that seems like a very simple story, simply told.
Well, it's really just a girl goes to college and like sort of falls in love, sort of falls out of love, tries to figure out who she is. Like that's the gist of it.
Yeah, is really mean sometimes, is really, some people are really mean to her sometimes, and she's reactive to that, and it's very emotional and very, very simple.
There is also simultaneous to this very, again, not as a negative, but just sort of like straightforward drama. There is a narrative about a crocodile,
which is, I'm as I was reading it, I was way more interested in that.
Well, it's cool.
Yeah, and it's also doing satirical work that feels so opposite from the work that's being done in the straightforward narrative.
Yeah.
But it's telling us like the same story.
There was the one part where the crocodiles, there's a crocodile only party. Like I'm just like, this is a sting. Get out, get out, get out.
Yeah.
And then the crocodile goes and just like, oh, there's other crocodiles or whatever.
Right. Which feels when you read about them doing the expose and the lesbian bar, it's like, oh, that's what's going on here.
Right.
They're very much like setting up these crocodiles so that they can expose them to society and judge them. And, people are writing in to magazines saying crocodile scene in Taiwan or like, and then everyone's writing and going like, I've never actually seen a crocodile.
I don't even know what a crocodile is. Yeah.
I don't know what a crocodile is. Like what, and it's like everyone's so fascinated with crocodiles, but nobody's ever seen or been near a crocodile. And it feels very much like the subtext is, of course you've seen a fucking crocodile.
Right.
You just have your like human blinders on so that you don't ever have to actually acknowledge or recognize that crocodiles live among you. And they're like, the reason why those blinders work so well is that they actually don't have to like put on a costume because they are also
because the crocodiles in the narrative are like in human suits or whatever, but they're still crocodiles living in secret or whatever. Yeah. And it's very interesting. And I found that and maybe it's like 10%, 20%. Like it's not a lot of the book, but it's very interesting. And it is surreal in a way that is very cool. I did worry for that crocodile though.
Yeah. You start feeling for these crocodiles that exist almost like, it almost reads like Onion articles, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like using these absurdities to make very obvious points about contemporary life.
There was also something that was, again, I didn't have any in the trivia for this, but I've been conscious to try to get trivia about like the acceleration of technology through the 90s. And it feels, and it's a little bit different when you apply the metaphor, but like people have been like, I don't know what a crocodile is. It's just like, go to the library and open a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, if you think about like, I don't know what a lesbian, like I've never met a lesbian. It's like, you have. And I think that there is incorrectly, but there's like a little bit more understanding that like, oh, I've never actually met a gay person. It's like, no, you have, as opposed to like, I don't know what a crocodile is. It's like, you can just like Google that or like go to the library and open a dictionary or encyclopedia or something.
Right. But in the 90s, like I'm a little bit older than the characters in this book. They're probably about 10 years older than I am. But I meant Sam a little bit younger than the characters in this book. They're probably about 10 years older than I am. But even when I was in high school, there were no people that were openly gay.
Right.
And people would, and actually at the school that I teach at now, everyone would deny, like everyone would be like, there's no gay kids here.
Yeah.
There are no gay students at this school. And it's like, yeah, there are. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying open up your eyes because it's not noticeable. There's no one that I would point to and say like that person's gay or whatever, which I wouldn't do anyway. But just the law of averages says like there's a number of people in this room that are gay in this room.
I made a vow in front of God and you.
I haven't vowed for shit.
But it's also funny to be like, oh, just a crocodile's like as soon as you realize like what they're doing, it's like, oh, it's like, okay, now I can sort of follow this.
She's not doing any sort of sleight of hand or anything like that. It's just like crocodiles are lesbians.
I did Google and I was just like, is there something deeper? I'm like, oh no, I was just like, it is. Yes.
Also, but if you think in your head, what would you symbolically have a crocodile represent? Right? Like how wolves have obvious symbolism, lions have kind of obvious symbolism.
Well, crocodiles like lion weight, right? Like there's something about that where it's like they are always like bubbling below the surface, kind of.
Yeah, and they feel like ancient too. Mm-hmm. They feel a million years old.
Yep. Also, like in like Egyptian religion and mythology and whatever, there are crocodile people too, right?
So, Nile. Yeah, right. So there is this strain of that symbology running through too, where you just think of lesbianism as this ancient thing. Because as much as you can think this doesn't exist in my culture, or I don't know what this is, or this is all so new, all of a sudden everybody's gay. It's like all ancient literature is filled with lesbianism.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yep.
any profession of ignorance is actually just that. It is actual ignorance. Like, you're not saying like, oh, what? I must just be like, have blinders on. It's like, yes, you do. You are not paying attention, or you're being hoodwinked by like your culture's media.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, when you realize what happened to the author and when you realize what this book is based on, the satire bites a little bit harder and you get like a little bit madder at it, I think.
Oh, there is something that is cool, and I don't know if this is according to Wiki, so I assume this is true, but who knows. The terms crocodile and lazi, which is the name that she is given, I think, by Tuntun and Jiru, maybe. Those in Taiwan just like mean lesbian. Like, this book is like so influential. It's just like, oh no, like crocodile because of this book. I hope not derogatorily, but I don't know.
I doubt it's derogatory, because it, like, when you adopt things from the tradition of literature, you are adopting from usually a position of education and acceptance.
Right.
So one reason why this book probably has the status that she was very young when she wrote it. I think she was 26 when she died. So she was younger than that when she wrote this book. One reason why it probably has the status that it does is because, like, with topics like this, someone has to step up and write that book.
Yep.
And when they do, if that book gets published, I'm sure there were Taiwanese lesbian writers before her that were writing it in a more covert way, or were writing and just not getting published, or writing and not getting the recognition. But when someone does so, like this, it is very much a time and place thing. But when you're the person that gets recognized as that then becomes the book. I guarantee there's like 1 million women that read this book and were just like, fucking yes, this is this is my experience exactly.
Right.
Especially because the characters in the book, they never really seem to be particularly hiding anything.
No, like, that's the other thing. It's like there's the metaphor of the crocodile, but like, these, maybe not to the world, but to the reader, they are out.
Yeah.
Like, they are like, oh no, I think I like women, or I know that I like women, or whatever. There's the one line where it's really sad. I mean, it just sort of said, where was it? Yeah, Zhao Fan was the only woman I ever made love to. It's just like, that's like 80% through the book. It's just like, there's one girl, but like, she was the one, but she wasn't the one, but she was the one that I, had sex with or whatever.
And
but
it's interesting because it shows that within the context of a culture, you might not be invisible, even if you're invisible to the world outside of that culture.
Yep. Because what's her friend? The friend is Meng Sheng, who's just like, he seems like really out and just like having a good time generally.
Yeah. He's also, in the beginning of the book, like a sinister weirdo. Like, there are parts where he's like brings a knife to her and he's gonna cut her and stuff like that. It's like, what is happening here? Why are you being so scary?
Crazy time. And then there's like part where like they have like a brother sister, but also like a best friend, but also like it's interesting dynamic. But he seems, I think the way that it's described somewhere online, like flamboyant. Like, he's just like, he is very himself and he's not hiding. Again, maybe he code switches or whatever, but like, at least to Lazi, who I don't think she's never named, right? Like, we don't know her. We just get her nickname. I don't think she ever. Yeah. But to her, he is like out and like he is himself.
But this is also similar to
also with the knife,
like William Burroughs books and things like that, where those characters are all very much living their lives and being totally out in their world. But if you look at the 40s and the 50s, that they would have been doing those things in, it is an incredibly repressive time. And in some ways, they can operate in a society that's willing to turn a blind eye, because I think a lot of people were willing to turn a blind eye to that. But then also there's another layer of the people who aren't willing to turn a blind eye, like, will kill you or will like turn you into the police.
Which also just reminds me of like when we covered for the adaptable, unadaptable, we did memory, and then it became the actor. And it's just like, in the 50s in Ohio, you're going to have a black man married to an Asian woman, and like, everyone's okay with this. Like, that's not what this movie is about.
It doesn't come up. It's like literally completely racially blind casting. Yeah. That's such a strange idea. And it's interesting in its own way, because it is creating like this fantasy world of America. But
yeah,
I don't know. The more I think about the movie, the more I like it. I would like to see it again.
That Q&A was weird, though. We talked about it a little bit.
Because he kept on inviting everyone to go get drinks.
Yeah, and people were like, I worked with you on this movie 7 years ago. It's like, I don't remember. Okay.
Let's go get drinks. Come talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, they just want to hang out with them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. Andre Holland's cool, but...
Yeah.
I don't really have do you have standout moments in the book? Like, were there, other than, Meng Shang bringing the knife, like, were there things that, like, in 6 months you will remember? Or do you remember just sort of like, other than just like the crocodile scenes as a crocodile scene?
There's a scene where she's like, I'm having a really tough time with the names because I did.
So here's a quick rundown of the names. I wrote these down because I'm going to forget them just because they're not English names. So like it's hard.
Right.
There's Lazi the protagonist. Her first great love is Shui Ling. Meng Shang is her gay friend. Chu Kuang is his lover, on again, off again, whatever. I think Tun Tun and Ji Ru are the friends who give her the nickname, and then Zhao Fan is the woman she sleeps with, but like isn't her true love.
Shui Lang is the one that I found the most. I found that relationship the most interesting because it had such an element of like, we're breaking up. Why are we breaking up? I don't know why we're breaking up, but we obviously have to break up.
It's very like 20-year-old love.
Yeah, because there's like, and I don't know, this may be amplified in relationships that have to be underground in some way, where the emotional heights are so high and they're spilling out everywhere that you actually don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So you're just like, I guess we should break up.
Yeah.
Just like, well, why? Why do we have to do that? Like, I still want to be with you. You still want to be with me. It's just like, but because I feel I can't. We have to break up.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, they feel like each of them has a very distinct idea about getting back together, and it never feels healthy or good. It just feels like there's a scene where she's like, leaving a note on her bike, and then she's driving by her and she's chasing her down. A lot of
stalker behavior, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like
but it's also like stalker behavior, like in a rom-com kind of way, where it's like, no, this is what she wants. But
also,
like,
it's kind of what it's like being a teenager. Yeah. Like teenagers who like people are stalkers. It's just the way it is.
You know, remember like toward the end of the book, Shui Ling calls and she's just like, my grandma just died, but like I need to talk to you because like you're more important right now. Just like,
yeah,
okay. And her family's like, I don't remember, like literally, or I'm just like picturing like them like outside the door, like screaming, like get off the phone.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, I need to talk to Lazi.
Yeah.
I liked it though. It was also kind of like it was a refreshing sort of change of pace for this module. It's also the first book, this module, written by a woman.
Right. Drop the ball on that one a little bit. There's a couple coming up toward the end.
There is, we just, as we're recording this, the intro episode for the season came out today. So we're like about 6 weeks early. We talked about how like we knew that, representation's like a little lacking, but like we needed a win. Like we had a couple modules in a row that were like a little tough or whatever. And you wanted to cover like Pynchon and DeLillo and Cormac McCarthy. Like it's just like we'll get it back. But it is nice to read a different kind of thing. Like there is something compared to like the masculine energy that we have.
Oh yeah. Coming off of
like Irvine Welsh, like 95% and Cormac and DeLillo's sort of like down the middle, but yeah.
I don't think DeLillo is having masculine energy.
And then Pynchon is also, since we recorded last, I think One Battle After Another came out, which is the sort of adaptation of Vineland and is a much better movie than that is a book, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like let's do a quick review of One Battle After Another.
Incredible.
But it's interesting because the stuff that Paul Thomas Anderson is good at is not the stuff that Pynchon is good at, and the stuff that Pynchon is good at is not the stuff that Paul Thomas Anderson is good at. So I think that like Pynchon's broad critique of America is much more astute than Paul Thomas Anderson's stuff. But Paul Thomas Anderson's stuff, he's making a relationships movie, not a systems movie. And that's what's good about that, is that he's approaching this idea of American revolutionary politics from the point of view of the family, and the family stuff works. The revolutionary politics stuff is kind of background. Whereas in what Pynchon is doing, I think the politics stuff about the death of the 60s and the American dream sort of morphing into one of consumer capitalism is much more at the front and much more like, I think he's actually saying a lot more than Paul Thomas Anderson is, but Paul Thomas Anderson is making us feel a lot more.
I think it's also a lot more straightforward. The movie's a lot easier to digest, which it has to be, because like people are going to buy, especially in like 1990, like, people are going to buy books or whatever. But today, to encourage people with no attention span to sit down and watch a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, like you kind of need to be like, also I'll say in terms of the like understandable and whatever, it does not feel like it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It feels like it's a 90-minute movie. Like it flies by.
Moves, yeah.
Great score from Johnny Greenwood. Every acting performance is great. It's funny.
Yeah.
Great movie. Does it make sense to you? I mean, this is not the first time because he also adapted Inherent Vice. Like, does what Paul Thomas Anderson does and what Pynchon does PTA's love for Pynchon make sense to you, or do you see? Yeah,
I get it. I think, yeah. But again, I think
even they're creating different things.
Yeah, I think they're good at different things, and I think Anderson is as good at his thing as Pynchon is at his. I think it was Branson Reese wrote this. Branson Reese might be also the person that put the thought of the Systems novel versus the relationships movie in my head. But he talked in his review on Letterboxd about how like there's other stuff that it seems like Anderson doesn't get, which is more abstract, which is like Stephen J. Lockjaw is not a Pynchon name, whereas like Brock Vaughn is a Pynchon name. Perfidia Beverly Hills is a Paul Thomas Anderson name. Frenessy is a Thomas Pynchon name. Like there is a degree to which Pynchon's silliness, like Anderson tries to adapt that silliness into something that is coded in a more serious way. Like Stephen Lockjaw is still a silly name, but it's a silly name in the way that like the A-Team would have a silly name,
right? And
not a silly, not like silly in the way that like Looney Tunes would have a silly name.
Sure.
So Perfidia Beverly Hills is the same thing. Like that would be the name of a real 60s revolutionary. Yeah. Same thing with Zoid being the name and then Bob being the name, right? Because Bob is like,
the name Bob is terrible.
It's the name of any fucking dumb idiot.
There is a Bob emergency. But I think he's also just adapting it to like the art he wants to make, right? Like this is not called Vineland.
Yeah. Right.
Which is maybe the most interesting thing about it. Like it is the thing, but it's not the thing.
Yeah. I would love it if he kept adapting Pynchon novels. I don't know that he will.
Which would you want to see next?
I mean, Crying Law 49 is the obvious one because of its length. You can't.
I said that's the most straightforward one of them too.
Yeah,
right?
And I don't think. I mean, there's some stuff in there that wouldn't work. Like there's a literalization of Maxwell's Demon that is kind of interesting and weird, and I don't know how you would film that. But like Against the Day is 1,000,000 pages long and has too much stuff going on in it. You couldn't do that. Mason and Dixon you couldn't do. Gravity's Rainbow I don't think you could do. Maybe you could do V, but it's a little bit scatterbrained. Bleeding Edge you could probably do. And he keeps on adapting the weaker Pynchon novels as well.
There's something to be said about like the best remakes in terms of just film are the movies that had a good idea that sort of struggled or whatever, right? So like if you adapt something that like people are like, this is the best thing to ever be made, like the thing you make better be also the best thing that's ever been made. But if you adapt something that's like, this is good, but like it's flawed, you can turn it into a thing that's like.
I'd love to see PTA do Moby Dick next.
I sent you, did I send you a picture? I don't know if I sent you, but when I went to when we were in Salem, we went to the museum.
Yeah, you sent me the picture.
There was a Moby Dick exhibit of like just basically the covers through the ages. And there were a couple really cool covers that I want to show you now, which is going to work great for a audio medium. I loved this one, just like a full ass whale.
Yeah, that rules.
And then there's also, this was Margaret's favorite, just like a book with a literal eyeball popping out.
Right, yeah.
And then this is not a cover, but I just love this art of like a whale emerging from like That's beautiful. Green.
Yeah.
Like the ocean and the sky and everything just sort of blends into one. It was very cool. It was called Draw Me Ishmael, the Book Arts of Moby Dick at some gallery in Salem, which was good, but like could have been better. Salem's also very touristy.
I know it's I've said this before. I protest Salem because I think it's a gift shop for a horrific murder.
Yes, we talked about that.
I do not like that at all.
She went before COVID and she was like, it was like much more about history and much more about, and then like we went now and like, this is just Times Square. Like it.
Yeah.
Really,
there is something nice about, I went there with Meg and Heather fairly recently. And one reason I went there was because I was teaching the Crucible and we went to the graveyard and I took a photo of all the gravestones of the actual people so that I could show my students so I could be like, hey, look,
these are real
like
people.
This. Yeah, he died. He actually was pressed to death. He had stones pressed on his chest until he died. These are real people that died.
Well, also like this is, at the same museum, there was like one little room about like the history of like whatever. And like, this is like every name of every person who was killed in the witch trials. It's just like, that's powerful. Like that's important to say. But
yeah, legitimate people that may have been tripping on a kind of acid because of the mold in the corn.
Hell yeah.
Or like, there's a couple different theories for it, but I think probably the actual theory is just capitalism.
Mass hysteria, or also that.
Just like people who recognize that you can take someone's land by accusing them of being a witch, and so you do so, and then.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so many of these people were just like, oh, they had everything and they had nothing, and they were in prison. They're just like, well, you can get out. But like the lucky ones got released. They're like, well, you have no more property anymore.
Yeah.
Which also, on the way back, we went to the Louisa May Alcott house in Concord, Mass. And they were talking on the tour about how Louisa May Alcott never married, because if she married, all of the royalties for her books would have gone to the husband. And she just like,
yeah, hell yeah, Louisa May.
I was also like, she might have just been gay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it might have just been like that. To me, seems like a more like the royalty thing makes sense. Cause also they were saying very early on, cause she wrote a ton of stuff, but obviously Little Women is like the big thing. But early on, they're like, do you want like $500 or do you want like 5% or 6% or whatever? She's like, I'll take the percent. And like that, you know,
bold
generational wealth. But yeah, she's like, oh no, I would legally, this would all go to a man. I'm good.
That's in the Great American Novel.
The Women
module. Yeah.
Cool.
I never read it.
Anything else to say about Notes of Crocodile, or do we want to get to the emails?
Let's get to we have multiple emails.
Well, so Jason wrote in, remember he wrote in
Jace
in May of last year saying, is the Patreon real? And I said, whenever we recorded that episode, when you get to this episode, if you want a link, I'll send you a link. So I sent him all the links. Would love a link to the Patreon episodes. I haven't, and then we also, I think on that episode, you're like, because I was like, why does he want, what did we offer? So I listened back and you were like, what are you reading? Like, let's talk about what you're reading. He said, I haven't read any Faulkner yet, only have a copy of Absalom, hoping I find it at least marginally penetrable.
It's a tough one.
Right now I'm reading Europe Central and the Bible for fun, not faith. Enjoying both, sort of. Do you know Europe Central?
Yeah, it's Volman.
Just bought 20 pairs of short black socks, changing the guard. Excited, Jason.
I love Jason. Yeah, that's the Volman book that Matt picked up that he found sort of impenetrable.
Well, I responded, Jason. I'm like, we're trying to figure out, and I think we are going to. Do you want to announce what we're going to try to figure out to do in March? Because like that is going to impact readers if they want to, or listeners.
Next module is a table for fortune.
Next big module
is a table for fortune. The
3,400 page, $150 book.
Yeah, the William Volman novel that it seems might be his last novel. Certainly his last novel of this size, I think.
It's a big size.
Yeah, and truly what may end up being the capstone of a remarkable career in American letters. One of the all-time greats.
Speaking of, I mean, I think we previewed on the last episode, but like since the last episode came out, I mean, we ordered it. That's not out yet, but a new Pynchon came out and a new Mark Z. Danielewski is about out if it's not out already.
And a new Patricia Lockwood.
Yeah.
So three books worth picking up, worth reading.
I will say, friend of the pod, Darcy Wilder, posted a picture of a dog on Instagram, but I saw at the bottom of it she was reading the new Pynchon. She was reading Pynchon. I'm assuming it was the new one because she's a reader.
Hell yeah, Darcy.
We have one more email. This is from Egg. Meg's reaction to Notes of a Crocodile. I like this book, she says. She also sent this in before the wedding. So at the wedding, the first thing I said to her was, thanks for getting that email in. It is interesting, though. I felt there was a lot of telling instead of showing, but in such a way that didn't bother me. It was committed to being internal. The style of writing also kind of reminded me of Almost Human.
We talked about that, though. That's not like...
Although it was a comic, it felt like most of that book was the internal emotions of the main character. And to further the comparison, at times the narrator in Notes of a Crocodile identified with the concept of no longer being human. Quote, you tore me open and exposed the man inside. That new me has no rightful place within humanity. I don't think you've been cast out. You can still return to that place where I'm no longer allowed.
Okay.
There were also moments where this book reminded me of Live Blog, in that she would discuss very mundane parts of her day with humor. Quote, locked the door, shut the windows, took the phone off the hook, sat down. That's how I wrote. I wrote till I was exhausted, smoked 2 cigarettes, went to the bathroom, took a cold shower. Outside were the torrential winds and rain of the typhoon season. Halfway undressed, I realized there was no soap left. Got dressed again. Returned to the bathroom with a bar of soap, undressed again, climbed back in the shower. That's how it is, writing a bestseller.
I did not personally make the connection to live blog, but no, that's definitely a aesthetic connection.
I think it's funny in a different way than Megan Boyle is funny, but like I don't think she would, like, I don't think Megan Boyle would ever write That's How It Is writing a bestseller, but the very like specific chronicling of things that like people might not think matter, but like do matter.
Yeah. There's also a difference between crafting something as a fictional narrative where you get to like choose your spots for humor and the more exhaustive approach that Megan Boyle does, where she still chooses her spots for humor, but it's not the same thing as like,
well, she has like what Jimmy Pardo would say, sort of like funny in the bones. Like she is just like funny, and like the way that she depicts things is funny.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I'm going to write a clever sentence here.
Yeah, exactly.
Meg writes, obviously much of this book was sad, but it was interesting that she prevented us from ever feeling hope about Lazi's circumstances. She always made sure to let us know that suffering was on the horizon. The first time she mentions Xiao Fan, she says that she, quote, took me to an even more desolate place than Shui Ling had, tearing my youth apart before suturing it back into one piece.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But it also just kind of feels like love, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and suturing it back into one, that lets you know that the suturing's coming.
Mm-hmm. Later on, when she says that Xiao Fan is the only woman she made love to, which I mentioned before, it's tinged with the sadness of the first mention. And then, of course, the real sadness of knowing that she killed herself.
The author.
Yes. But knowing that made me feel different than knowing about LeVay's death. At least it didn't feel like a marketing ploy to get me to read the book.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that he killed himself as a marketing ploy, but...
Yeah. I think he probably killed himself because he was in an incredible amount of inhuman pain. But, you know, tomato.
I'm going to go so viral. And I suppose knowing that she became a voice for the counterculture makes her story a bit more triumphant, albeit in a depressing way.
It is, yeah.
However, I tend to side-eye posthumously published works. Sure, the concept of the, quote, author is dead in the figurative sense can apply, but I feel that that should only apply after the authors put their work into the world. When the work is published without the author's final say-so, something can be lost.
She's like 5 seconds away from talking about Emily Dickinson.
When the editor has too heavy of a hand, parentheses, for example, the entire first run of Emily Dickinson's published work was essentially hacked together and much different from how she actually wrote in her poetry.
God bless you, Meg.
All capital letters anyway. I think
God bless you, Meg.
Realizing you were going to react like that. All in all, a great book that felt quite contemporary.
I mean, I say that knowing that I do the exact same goddamn thing, just with a different subject. So it's no, like, Meg is a very accomplished scholar on Emily Dickinson. And so when something that is relevant to Emily Dickinson enters the picture, there's no reason for her not to bring it up. So I'm not going to.
Just very funny that you said, and I as you said that, I saw the words. I was like,
but I mean, that's also true of Kafka. It's true of, certainly true of David Foster Wallace. Like his shit that came out after he died, they have picked that corpse of all of its meat.
Yep.
And that is in many ways shameful.
You know, people, again, like you were saying about Salem, capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, keep reading.
Yeah. Today's crime is insurance fraud.
Theme song.